Good afternoon all. Welcome back to the class. Yes, so this is Salma. I am here to teach you chemistry, right? Okay, so before starting the class, let us recall all the topics whatever we have learnt in the previous class, right? So let us recall all the topics. So let me tell you what are the topics we have revised in the previous class. We have been taught in the previous class. What is meant by matter we have gone through, right? We have gone through what is meant by matter, right? And next, what is meant by mass we have gone through, and what is meant by volume we have gone through, and how to identify matter, right? We have gone through examples of matter, right? Examples of matter we have gone through, right? And now we are going through the classification of matter. So let us revise the topics whatever we have gone through in the previous class first. So it is matter. What is meant by matter? So in the previous class we have been taught that, we have learnt that all the things on the universe, the entire universe can be classified into two categories. So they are living things and non-living things. Am I right? Yes? See, all the things whatever you see around you can also be categorized only into two types, living things and non-living things. Few of those are living things and few of those are non-living things. So matter is anything which has mass and volume, right? So all the living and non-living things, the entire universe can be considered as matter. Yes? So if entire universe can be considered as matter, you may ask me a doubt. Ma'am, can light be considered as matter? Can feelings be considered as matter? Can gravitational force be considered as matter? No. Right? So to specify that, they have been given a clear definition for the matter. So it is anything which has mass and volume is called matter, right? So the all things which have mass and volume, we can consider them as matter. Which have mass and which occupy the space are called matter, right? So if you go with the example, so what is meant by mass first? Mass, we have gone through it in the previous class. Mass, what is mass? Mass is the amount of matter present in an object. I said you, right? So if you take this water bath, yes, there is some amount of water in this, right? So the water present in it is called mass. The mass of a water will be the amount of water present in this object. So if you consider this will be the object and the water will be the matter, right? So that is mass. The amount of matter present in an object is called mass. So in the previous class we have gone with the example of pen even. If you take a pen, yes, so what will be the mass of ink in it, right? So the amount of matter in an object. So if you consider a pen, the body of the pen will be the object and the ink inside it will be the matter, right? So the capacity of a pen, you consider the capacity of a pen might be any 3 ml or 5 ml, you consider 5 ml. We have used 2 ml of ink by writing. So the remaining, the rest of 3 ml of ink is present in the refill. So what will be the mass of ink in that particular pen? The mass of ink in that particular pen will be of 3 ml. So this is what mass is, right? Next, volume. Volume, if you consider, what is meant by volume? Volume is the space occupied by an object, right? So the amount of space occupied by an object is called volume. Yes? So if I keep this chalk piece on the board, whatever the space occupied by this chalk piece on the board is called volume, right? And next, examples of matter. So we have gone through many examples. All the things we see around us, your pen, your pencil, your sharpener, your eraser, your clothes, even your books, right? Water bottle, the chairs, furniture in your home, yes, even your home, even your body can be considered as matter, right? Now, can we consider gravitational force as a matter? Absolutely no. We cannot consider gravitational force as a matter because gravitational force has no mass and it has no volume, right? Have you seen anywhere gravitational force being filled in a container? No, right? Exactly. So gravitational force has no mass and it has no volume. It don't occupy space, right? So that's why we cannot consider gravitational force as matter. And in the same way, similarly, light even. Light even has no mass. It also doesn't occupy space. So light also cannot be considered as matter, right? So our feelings, pain, yes, gravitational force is light. All these things cannot be considered as matter. Remaining all can be considered as matter. All of this. So these are the topics we have learnt in the previous class, right? So if we enter into the chapter now, so the chapter we are going through is nature of matter. Nature of matter. So we have learnt what is meant by matter. We have learnt what are the examples of matter. We have even learnt what are the composition of matter, right? We have even learnt the composition of matter in the previous class. So what is the composition of matter? What is matter made of? Matter is made of molecules. Molecules are composed of atoms, right? So in the previous class we have learnt what is meant by atom. Atom is the smallest fundamental particle of a matter which cannot be divided further, right? So that much small particle that we can't even see with our naked eyes. I said you, if we crush this chalk piece, we will get the powder of this chalk piece. We will get chalk powder. So can you separate the smallest particle from that chalk powder? Is it possible? It's not possible, right? Yes? So that smallest particle of that powder is called atom. Similarly, all non-living things, all the things around you are made of atoms, the smallest particles. Now what is meant by molecule? Molecule in the sense, if two or more atoms are the smallest and fundamental building blocks. If two or more atoms combine, you get a molecule, right? See, even if we want to build a building, we combine bricks. So these bricks are the building blocks, right? Yes. If two or more bricks have combined, then you get a wall. In the same way, atoms are the fundamental building blocks here. If two or more atoms are combined, we get a molecule. And if two or more molecules have combined, we get a compound. We get a matter, right? So that is how Matter is composed of molecules. Molecules are composed of atoms. So this is about the composition of matter. Right? Now we are going through the classification of matter. Classification of matter. So what might be the classification of matter? Matter can be classified into many types based on two categories. So let us see what are those two categories. So if you consider a matter, matter can be classified into many types based on two categories. What are those two categories? So those two categories are physical classification and chemical classification. So these are the two categories. Matter have been divided into many types based on these two categories. So now if you ask me what are the types of matter based on physical classification, they were of these: solids, liquids, and gases. Solids, liquids and gases are the types of matter based on physical classification. And now if you ask me what are the types of matter based on chemical classification, they were of again two types. So what are they? They were of pure substances and mixtures. So the types of matter based on chemical classification are of pure substances and mixtures. So these are the types of matter, right? Now let us see the properties of solids, liquids and gases. What is meant by solid, what is meant by liquid and what is meant by gas, and what are their properties? Let us learn now, right? Solids. What are solids? All the matter which we can see around us are not similar, right? Yes, you can see your pen, you can see your book, you can see the water what you drink, you can feel the air what you breathe in, right? Oxygen you breathe in. You can see the water what you drink and you can see the pen what you write. Yes? Now, is your pen, water what you drink and the air what you breathe in, are these three things are same? Are these three things are these three matters are of similar in their appearance and in their properties? Are they similar? Of course they were dissimilar, right? They were dissimilar. You can see the pen what you write have a shape, it have a particular shape. You can see the water what you drink have no shape, right? But you can see the oxygen what you breathe in, you can't see it, you can feel it, but you can feel that it even don't have a shape, right? Yes. So there are many dissimilarities in the matter whatever we see around us, right? So let us see those dissimilarities and let us learn those properties of these solids, liquids and gases now. So first solids. What is solid? Solid is, yes, as I have said you can see your pen have definite shape, right? So solids are the type of matter which have definite shape and volume. They have definite shape and volume. Solids are the type of matter have definite shape and volume. So solids are the type of matter which have definite shape and definite volume, right? So these are solids. So now let us see the examples, few examples of these solids. So all the things you can see around you which have definite shape and definite volume can be considered as solids. So you can see this chalk piece, right? Yes. Does it have a definite shape? Of course it have a definite shape. And does it occupy a definite volume on a surface? Yes, it occupies, right? So this chalk piece is a solid. Chalk piece is a solid. And can you tell me few more solids? The pen. Pen is a solid and the pencil is a solid. And right, and duster is a solid, right? So all these etc. All these things are solids. Now let us see the properties of these solids. Okay. Properties of solids. So as you know already, solids are the substances which have definite shape. So solids have definite shape. Solids have definite shape and solids have definite volume. Solids have definite volume and solids have definite mass. Solids have definite mass. Right? And solids are rigid. Yes, as you can see the solids, they have definite shape and they have definite volume, and they were rigid, they were not soft. You can't easily compress them or you can't easily break them, right? Solids are rigid. So, these are solids have definite shape, solids have definite volume, solids have definite mass, and solids are rigid. Let us see why solids are rigid. Why solids are rigid? Yes, we are saying that solids are rigid. Can you say why they are rigid? Solids are rigid because of the intermolecular arrangement. The intermolecules were arranged in such a way that solids stay rigid. So, let us see how intermolecules are arranged in solids. How intermolecules were arranged in solids? Intermolecules are arranged like this. So, let us see. If you consider these as a solid, so the intermolecules in solids were arranged like this. They were packed close to each other. Right. So, as you can see here, the intermolecules in solids are packed close to each other. They were tightly packed. So, let us intermolecules are tightly packed in solids. So, the intermolecules are tightly packed in solids. So, because of these kind of arrangement, solids are rigid in nature. They were closely packed, the molecules were closely packed, and they don't have any space here to move free. Intermolecules have no any space among them to move free. So, they were of rigid, right? So, what about the intermolecular space among them? Intermolecular space among them. As you can see in this picture, the molecules were very closely packed to each other and they were tightly packed. So, if they were tightly packed, can you see any free space among them? So, solids have negligible intermolecular spaces among them. Negligible in the sense, negligible, we need not to consider, very minute, very minute amount of spaces they have, right. So, negligible amount of free spaces solids have. So, in terms of minimum, maximum and moderate, we can consider solids shows minimum intermolecular space among them. So, solid shows minimum intermolecular space among them, right. Now, let us see why do they packed tightly to each other. Why the molecules in solids were packed close to each other? Why are they tightly packed? Because of the intermolecular force of attraction. So, let us see how the intermolecular force of attraction is in solids. As you can see in the picture, the intermolecules were very tightly packed to each other. They were closely and very tightly packed. So, by this we can understand that the intermolecular force of attraction is very strong in solids, right. If the force of attraction is strong, then only you can see the molecules were tightly packed to each other, right. So, the intermolecular force of attraction in intermolecules of a solids are strong, right. So, solid shows very strong intermolecular force of attraction. Force of attraction. So, this is about the intermolecular force of attraction. They were tightly packed because the solids, the force of attraction among the molecules in solids is strong, and they have minimum intermolecular spaces among them because the molecules were very tightly packed to each other. So, this is how the intermolecules are arranged in solids. Now, let us see what about the density of solids. Density. What is meant by density? What is meant by density? So, density in the sense mass by volume. The amount of mass exerts on a square unit of volume is called density. The amount of mass exerts on a square unit of volume is called density. So, density is mass by volume or the amount of mass exerts on a square unit of volume is called density. So, what about the density of solids? Is it minimum or is it maximum or is it moderate? So, the density of solids is maximum. The density of solids is maximum. So, solid shows maximum density. Solid shows maximum density. So, this is about the density. And now, what about the diffusion? What is meant by diffusion first of all? What is meant by diffusion? So, the diffusion in the sense the intermixing property of any two substances by themselves. The intermixing property of any two substances by themselves is called diffusion. So, for example, if you add any two substances together, those two substances should intermix by themselves. So, that process we call as diffusion. So, how about the diffusion exerts in solids? Have you seen any two solids intermixing by themselves right after adding them together? For example, let us take a bowl of sugar and a bowl of salt. So, if you mix both sugar and salt together, will these sugar and salt intermix by themselves? Will they intermix by themselves? No, right? So, the intermixing property of any two substances by themselves, in the sense the diffusion in solids is negligible. So, in terms of minimum, maximum and moderate, we can consider the diffusion in solids is minimum. The diffusion in solids is minimum. The diffusion in solids is minimum. Now, what about the compressibility in solids? What is meant by compressibility and how the compressibility exerts in solids? So, let us see that. Compressibility. What is meant by compression? compressibility is the ability or the action of compressing any substance or the action of pressing any substance to reduce its volume or to change its shape. Compressibility in the sense, the ability or the action of pressing a substance to change its to reduce its volume or to change its shape is called compressibility. Is called compressibility. Now, what about the compressibility in solids? How does this compression exerts in solids? Is it minimum or maximum or moderate? So, to explain this, let us consider a solid substance, duster for example. Take a duster. So, can we compress this duster to reduce its volume? Can we reduce its volume by pressing it? Let us see. Is it possible? Of course, it's not possible, right? So, let us take a chalk piece. Let us take a chalk piece. Can we press this chalk piece to reduce its volume? Can we press this chalk piece and reduce its volume? Of course, it's not possible, right? So, the compression in solids is minimum, it is negligible, right? So, the compression in solids is minimum. Solids exerts minimum compression. So, solids exerts minimum compression. So, this is about compression. Now, as we have learnt that solids exerts minimum compression, do all solids exerts minimum compression? Think once. Do all the solids exerts minimum compression? I think it's no. There are few solids which exerts moderate compression even. So, can we give you an example? Sponge. Sponge is a solid. Is it a solid or liquid or gas? Sponge is a solid, I think. Yes, sponge is a solid. Now, can we compress a solid to reduce its volume? Of course we can. Yes, we can compress a sponge to reduce its volume. If solids exerts minimum compression, how the sponge being a solid exerting compression? How is it possible? Yes, so because sponge exerts compression because it has many pores which were filled with air. Sponge has too many pores which were filled with air. So, that is what the reason why sponge can be compressed. Why no other solids can be compressed? Yes, if you take this duster, there are no pores in this duster which were filled with air, right? So that we cannot compress this duster. And if you consider this chalk piece, there are no pores in this chalk piece filled with air, right? But if you consider a sponge, there are pores in that sponge which were filled with air. That's why sponge can be compressed. So, except sponge, remaining all solids have minimum compression. Even sponge being a solid, it can exert compression because of pores present in it filled with air, right? So, solids exerts minimum compression, right? Now, let us see what about the fluidity in solids. Fluidity. What is meant by fluidity? What is meant by fluidity? Fluidity is a property of flowing property of any substance, right? The flowing property of a substance is called fluidity. So, what about the fluidity in solids? Do they exert fluidity? So, let me give you an example. If I drop this chalk piece on my hand, will it stay in my hand or will it flow down? It will stay in my hand, right? So, that is fluidity. Fluidity is minimum in solids. Fluidity is negligible in solids or it is minimum in solids. And I will give you one more example. You take a bowl of sugar and you drop that sugar and you pour that sugar on a floor. What happens? Will that sugar stay in the same place where you have dropped it or will that sugar flow down? It will stay in the same place where you have drawn it, right? So, that is fluidity. Fluidity is minimum in solids. Fluidity in the sense the flowing property of a substance. Is called fluidity. So, the fluidity is minimum in solids. So, this is about fluidity. Now, free surfaces. Free surfaces. What is meant by free surface? Free surface. The free surface is the surface area of any substance which is external, which is visible. Now, if you see the free surface of this duster, if you consider this duster is a solid. So, let us see what about the free surfaces in solids. So, if you consider this duster, can we count how many free surfaces does it have? Yes, it is possible. Yes. So, count along with me. So, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Once again let us do it. Count along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, how many free surfaces does it have? It has 6 free surfaces. Now, let me ask you a question. Do all solids have same number of free surfaces? If duster has 6 number of free surfaces, then do all solids consist of same number of free surfaces? Of course no. All solid substances will not have same number of free surfaces. They will have different number of free surfaces based on the shape of that particular matter, based on shape of that particular object. The number of free surfaces keep changing. So, by this process, we can understand that solids can have any number of free surfaces. Solids can have any number of free surfaces. So, this is about the free surface of solids. So, these are the properties of solids, right? We have gone through the density, solids have maximum density, we have gone through the diffusion, solid shows minimum diffusion, we have gone through the compression, solid shows minimum compression, and we have gone through the fluidity, solid shows minimum fluidity. We have gone through the free surfaces, solids can have any number of free surfaces. We have gone through the intermolecular force of attraction. So, the solids have strong intermolecular force of attraction, and we have gone through the intermolecular spaces. So, solid shows minimum intermolecular spaces among them, right? So, and we have gone through the arrangement of molecules in solids. How the intermolecules are arranged in solids? They were arranged close to each other. They were packed tight, right? So, next we have gone through the shape of a solid. Solids have definite shape, solids have definite volume, solids have definite mass. So, these are the properties of solids. Now, we have learnt the properties of solids and we have learnt what are solids, right? So, now what all the matter which have minimum compression can be considered as solids. What all the matter have maximum density can be considered as solids. What all the matter which have minimum fluidity can be considered as matter. What all solids. What all the matter which have the nature of rigidity in them can be considered as solids. So, these are solids. Now, let us see what are liquids, right? What are liquids? What are liquids? So, liquids are the substances which have a definite volume and which do not have a definite shape. Liquids are the substances which do not have a shape but have a definite volume. Which do not have a shape but have a definite volume. So these are liquids. So liquids are the substances which do not have shape but have a definite volume, right? Of course, liquids occupy shape but they do not have a definite shape. They do not have a definite shape. So let us see the properties of liquids. So if we go through the examples of liquids, so what might be the examples of liquids? All the substances or all the matter which do not have shape but have a definite volume can be considered as liquids, right? So water can be considered as liquid, and oil can be considered as liquid, yes, and juice can be considered as liquid, etc. So these are liquids. All these can be considered as liquids. Now let us see the properties of liquids. What are the properties of liquids? As we have already gone through, liquids have no definite shape. Liquids definite shape. Liquids have no definite shape. And if liquids have no definite shape, how can we see liquids? Yes, liquids occupy the shape of the container. So let me show you an example for that. Yes, you can see this test tube, right? Yes. So what is the shape of this test tube? The shape of the test tube is cylindrical. Now I will pour some water in this. Let us see what will be the shape of water in this container. So if I pour some water in this, what is the shape occupied by water? The shape occupied by water is cylindrical here, right? Yes. So the shape of the water in this cylindrical shaped container is cylindrical, right? Now let me show one more example. You can see this beaker, right? Yes. What is the shape of this beaker? Rectangular shape. So let us see what shape does water occupy in this beaker. If you pour water in this, what shape does water occupied in this container? It have occupied rectangular shape, right? So is there any difference in this shape of water and this shape of water? Of course there is difference, right? Yes. Let me show you one more example. So this is conical flask. So can you tell me what is the shape of this container? It is of slightly triangular shape. So let us see what shape does water occupy in this container. Okay. If you see in these containers, the shape of water is of different as compared to the shape of water in these containers, right? There is change in the shape of water in these two different containers, right? And if you compare the shape of water in these container with these containers, there is change in the shape of container, right? Yes. So, by these experiment, what did we understand? We understood that the shape of the container, the shape of water will be based on the shape of container. So, liquids occupy the shape of the containers. Liquids occupy the shape of container, right? So, this is about the shape of liquids. And now, what about the volume of liquids? Do liquids have a definite volume? Yes, of course, liquids have definite volume. Liquids have a definite volume. So, this is about the liquids. And now, what about the mass of liquids? Do liquids have a definite mass? Yes, of course, liquids have definite mass. Liquids have definite mass, liquids have definite volume, liquids have no shape, they occupy the shape of the container, right? Now, what about the arrangement, intermolecular arrangement of liquids? Let us see how intermolecules were arranged in liquids. So, how intermolecules are arranged in liquids? As we have seen the intermolecular arrangement in solids. In solids, the intermolecules are very tightly packed. How the intermolecules are arranged in liquids? So, let us see now. So, if you consider these as a liquid, the intermolecules are arranged like this in liquids. Yes. So, can you find any difference in the arrangement of solids as compared to the arrangement of liquids? Can you find any difference in the arrangement of liquids as compared to the arrangement of solids? Yes, you can find, I think. In solids, the intermolecules were very tightly packed to each other. There is no intermolecular space at all. Now, if you see in liquids, the intermolecules were arranged somewhat loosely. They were somewhat loosely packed in liquids. As you can see here, there are some amount of intermolecular spaces among them, right? As compared to solids, there are some amount of intermolecular spaces among them, right? So, the intermolecules were somewhat loosely packed in liquids. intermolecules were somewhat loosely packed. In liquids. They were somewhat loosely packed in liquids. Right? So, this is how intermolecular arrangement is in liquids. Now, let us see how the intermolecular spaces are there among the liquids. So, the intermolecular spaces are minimum or maximum or moderate. As compared to solids, the intermolecular spaces are somewhat larger in liquids. So, in terms of minimum, maximum and moderate, we can consider that the intermolecular spaces are moderate in liquids. The intermolecular spaces are moderate in liquids. So, this is how the intermolecular spaces among the liquids are. Now, what about the intermolecular force of attraction in liquids? As we have seen the intermolecular force of attraction in solids, they were of strong. Solids have strong intermolecular force of attraction. That's why the molecules were very tightly packed in solids. Now, what about the intermolecular force of attraction in liquids? Are they strong or weak? Yes. As compared to solids, they were weak. As compared to solids, the intermolecular force of attraction is weak in liquids. Liquids. So, these are the properties of liquids. So, there are few more properties. Let us learn those properties in the next class. So, this is all for today. Hope you all enjoyed the class and hope you all found the class useful and interesting. Thank you. Have a nice day.